everybody, this is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be talking about some surprise updates regarding zombies, a potential grief mode in the future, and also what's going on with the future of round-based. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and be sure to check out our wonderful partner Manscaped, who recently released a variety of products with the Performance Package 4.0. You can clean your bombs on there like never before with the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker trimmer for our nose and ears, the Crop Preserver deodorant, and the Crop Reviver toner. There's also some free gifts like the Magic Mat, the Manscaped boxers, and even the luxury travel bag. Don't forget about the link down below in the description, and use code Twitch20 to save 20% off any Manscaped order. So, with that being said, we also have Onslaught now available on Xbox and PC for Black Ops Cold War zombies, but there were some problems that came with that release. Now, as a result, Treyarch just tweeted that the Lapa SMG unlock in multiplayer now displays the correct requirements, and Intel in Onslaught is also now obtainable on Xbox and PC, since for whatever reason, it just wasn't last night. And we also have the new Intel menu live on Xbox and PC to view whatever Intel you do pick up. Now, earlier we had the world premiere concerts of Call of Duty Vanguard, which showcased some new campaign gameplay, some live multiplayer, and even the official score of the game, which does sound beautiful. I think it is a bit of a step up from the score we had in World War II, which was also an absolute banger. They also went ahead and premiered the Anfang intro cinematic cutscene, which we're going to break down in a couple of minutes. They even announced the brand new Warzone Pacific bomber jacket, which you have a slim chance of winning considering there's only 10 of them they're giving away, so be fast with entering the sweepstakes. All the information about it is, of course, down below in the description. I do want to say, though, beware of the fact that early copies of Vanguard are, of course, out there, as we usually see with every new Call of Duty or every new popular game that's out there. But I think what's really interesting is that a couple of hours ago, it was reported that, for some reason, the game went live a little bit too early in New Zealand. Everybody knows the game does go live early in New Zealand regardless, but ended up going live 12 plus hours ahead of the actual schedule. So it seems like Sony may have pulled a bit of a dead of the night with Call of Duty Vanguard. What I mean by that is the fact that Vanguard went live way ahead of schedule, much before when it was supposed to for typical New Zealand pre-orders. And this issue apparently, or it's not even an issue, but this exploit apparently, however you want to describe it, has gone live on certain people's PS4s and PS5s if you have a New Zealand version of Vanguard pre-ordered. And with that being said, everybody knows how funny it is. At around this time every year, everybody magically takes a trip to New Zealand to get an early copy of Call of Duty. And I think the actual launch of Vanguard in New Zealand is supposed to be around, I think, 6 a.m. Central my time, so a couple of hours from now. And that's still almost a full day before everybody else is supposed to get it on November the 5th, which is Friday. So that's usually how this goes, but I mean, people who had a New Zealand copy pre-ordered seem to have gotten even earlier access to the game, which nobody could have expected, but we'll just have to deal with that. I think if you're a content creator trying to kind of break your way into the algorithm and post some good Vanguard content on launch, it'll be a lot more difficult now considering people out there probably have a massive head start already. When it comes to the intro cinematic cutscene for Anfang, nothing really new was showcased in the cinematic itself, which I was a bit confused about because we kind of already saw all of this in the Vanguard Zombies reveal trailer a couple of weeks back. I had predicted that day when we saw that trailer that we would see the full cinematic posted at some point later, similar to Die Machina and how that was treated last year. We did get parts of the cutscene, or almost all of it, cut up into pieces within the gameplay reveal a couple of weeks ago, and they kind of told us everything we already needed to know. Now, the extra narration was pretty cool. We, of course, got our references to Project Endstation, Vogel, Die Machine. I did like that, but I think the cinematic could have showed a little bit more, or something that maybe we didn't get to already see a couple of weeks ago, and that would have made this a little bit more worthwhile. But the score, or the music I should say, does sound beautiful in the cinematic itself, so still cool that we got this released nonetheless. But let me know how you're feeling about it down below in the comments. Now, something I really wanted to get into, since this is my last video before the launch of Vanguard, at least in New Zealand, is regarding an interview that really needed to happen between GameSpot and Treyarch about the future of Call of Duty Zombies as we know it. And this was done by a journalist known as S.E. Doster, also known as Geeky Acrylics on Twitter. She actually follows me, which is a nice surprise to see. Shout out to her if she's watching this video. She actually asked the tough questions, which I think everybody was wondering about. So first and foremost, when it comes to post-launch content and their plan regarding round-based. So she went ahead and asked, what would you say to the round-based players who might be hesitant to give this a try because they weren't a fan of Outbreak from Black Ops Cold War? Now, we have the Associate Director of Design who replied with, I think we stripped down the round-based experience experience, the ever-increasing challenge and choosing how you want to play and unlocking the map. We wanted to incorporate those elements, and then we use the objectives to be the gate. To expand the hub, you complete an objective as opposed to surviving zombies, earning essence, and then opening a door. So we put a spin on some of the mechanics they've always really liked, and then the world and zombies definitely grow in intensity and difficulty as they're used to, so there's still that end game. If Outbreak is one extreme and round-based is another, then round-based is very directed versus very open like Outbreak is. We've taken the ingredients from both and mashed them together, so you can get in the action faster, but there's still player agency like Outbreak gives you. We're trying to offer a little something new from the best of both worlds. So that kind of confirms one way or another that this is the formula they want to stick with throughout Call of Duty Vanguard specifically. It doesn't mean they'll stick with this forever with their next Call of Duty in 2023, but that doesn't really explain either how DLC experiences will work. Will they always be with the formula their Anfang has, where there's a hub in the middle and then 3 regions you can warp to via portals? Now the last thing that was mentioned about round-based, which is very interesting, is that round-based as we know it might get worked to some other mechanics, and that's probably the best they can say right now without giving it away. But because round-based comes up a lot, they're not forgetting about round-based exclusive fans. They are going to be satisfied with some upcoming stuff that will be pretty cool. So that could go along with the theory that maybe they pull a tortured path and say, hey, complete the main Easter egg in Der Anfang, which isn't going to come out for a while, and then you can unlock round-based on the individual regions that are already available in Der Anfang. Or they have it to where there are individual round-based maps introduced later, but they don't want to give it away right now because they have some surprises up their sleeves. So never say never with round-based, but I wouldn't expect anything about that until a much later season, maybe even season 3. And I know that might upset some of you guys, but don't forget, this isn't even Treyarch's year to begin with. We shouldn't even be getting Treyarch zombies this year, but we are. It's a nice bonus. So there's ever a year to experiment and try something a lot different than we're accustomed to, it would be a year like this, where Treyarch is collaborating with Sledgehammer on this new zombies iteration, whereas a game like Cold War did the best of both. And now they're really doing the best of both, but in a much more severe way, so it remains to be seen if it's going to be successful or not to determine if they're going to do this again with their next Call of Duty in a couple of years. Now, Treyarch was also asked about the decision to not have a main quest on launch day, which is still strange considering every other Treyarch Zombies iteration has had a main quest on launch. So I know it's an experimental year, but we definitely didn't expect this news, right? So as Treyarch said, they wanted to make sure that people can digest the new world, the intel, the characters, the gameplay mechanics before hopping into a main quest, and they also want it to be more accessible than previous games. So they want to spend the right amount of time that anybody could do it, and we're going to deliver on that and spread it across post-ship as well. So that statement to me seems like the closest to literal transparency that we've never really gotten from developers or from publishers and these corporate entities. I mean, if there are issues behind the scenes with getting this main quest off the ground and testing it and really, making it the best it possibly can be, then this was the closest response that will get to that, instead of just saying, we have some other plans to give you guys other content first, then we'll bring you the main quest later. They're kind of hinting that it's just not ready yet. But the fact they said it's going to be more accessible than previous games, how much more accessible can that be considering Cold War Zombies Easter eggs are already extremely accessible and much more simplistic than any other Black Ops Zombies iteration? So that definitely raises a lot of questions that I'm sure we'll learn more about closer to Season 1. Now, Treyarch was also asked about upcoming field upgrades. Since it's already confirmed the current field upgrades that will be available in Vanguard Zombies will have these Dark Ether entities tied to them to give them more personality, to give us a bit of dialogue and backstory about the world altogether. And Treyarch was asked how the post-launch ones will work. Will they be the same as the field upgrades we had in Black Ops Cold War, or will they be introducing new abilities entirely? Treyarch then responded with saying they have a long list of ones they didn't use in Cold War, so it's always this what fits the right gameplay question, so I don't know if we can answer yet, because Dark Ether entities we've crafted, we are using those abilities, and we want players to be able to pick and choose the builds. We're very inspired by roguelikes. Each match we want to be different. When we do introduce, which we are hoping to, new artifacts and Dark Ether entities in the future, they'll be complementary to different types of styles of gameplay. If that's some familiar Cold War abilities, possibly. Some new, also possibly. So I guess this means we might see some of the DLC field upgrades, and we might see some new ones right next to those. I think that's fair enough, right, for a response to that. But we also got a bit of a hint as to what's going on with Grief Mode, because everybody remembers, before Black Ops 4 Zombies came out, I think it was Johnny J, who was playing Zombies early, sitting next to Jason Blundell. He actually asked Blundell what's going on with Grief, because that was a mode that probably should have been in Black Ops 3 after everybody was asking for it, and Lundell actually responded by saying that Grief is close to finished and that he wouldn't release it until he's happy with it, but that it was going to happen in Black Ops 4, yet it never did. So it's unclear if his departure from Treyarch impacted the release of that mode. So once Treyarch was asked about Grief again, here's what they said right now. We can't talk about all the things in post-ship, but I'd love that you're a fan of that because again, we have massive list and there are people on the team that love the mode as well. So if it does come back, maybe, but if it doesn't, maybe as well. But it's not forgotten in that sense. Now overall, this was definitely a very powerful interview that I think even GameSpot knew needed to happen because I think the reveal of Vanguard Zombies did have people a bit puzzled. Not that they didn't explain everything correctly, but with the reveal in the blog post, there were some details provided, but it was also a bit vague the way they described how this mode will work. They didn't want to explicitly say that it wasn't round-based. They didn't also want to say that it was Outbreak Part 2, and people were left confused by that. And I think now everything is a lot more out here in the open, and I think the transparency is much better than it was a couple of weeks back. Now, I do want to mention that I wouldn't be surprised to see a more traditional version of Outbreak like we had in Cold War added to Vanguard through the use of the Caldera Warzone map. Now, maybe in a future season, they'll be able to add Outbreak on that Caldera map, but the question remains, will that be playable in the Warzone application or Vanguard's? Could that be the first true free Zombies experience that I think would take Zombies to a whole new level beyond what we've seen already? I mean, all the Outbreak free trials last year apparently were very successful for Activision, so I'm curious if that's what they're considering for the future. And I know it'll be strange, right? Because Anfang is already a match between round-based and Outbreak, so imagine seeing another version of Outbreak in Vanguard as well. I mean, it's possible. I even think in Cold War, at one point, it was planned to have everybody play on the entirety of the Euro Mountains map without breaking the map up into individual regions through warping. Maybe the engine couldn't handle it, they ran out of time, who knows what happened, but maybe that entire Euro Mountains map was for either Fireteam or Outbreak, possibly even Warzone specifically. Maybe there wouldn't have been a Verdansk 84. I mean, there's a lot of questions with what would have happened there, but now with the Vanguard integration, wouldn't be surprised to see Caldera fully utilized for Zombies in a future experience that was kind of hinted at by Treyarch here in this interview. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave all your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on our build up to Vanguard Zombies as we know it? Are you excited for Anfang? And how are you feeling about this GameSpot interview, which did answer a lot of tough questions that I never expected Treyarch to actually get asked or to answer? And with that, feedback is very important for this game. It'll definitely determine the future of Zombies as we know it. I'm optimistic about it. I'm hoping that it resonates well with the community, and if it does, maybe this will reflect on what Zombies will look like in many future Call of Duties to come. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everyone.